Well, hello and welcome everybody. Randy Replay back. Randy Replay back. Randy Replay back at it again. The Minnesota Vikings are back here, sitting 2-10 on the season. As you saw last week, we had an injury, and we'll take a look at that right about now. Zachary Anderson, fractured kneecap. He's out 46 weeks. So, of course, we signed Tony Brown, and he's been put in the rotation for today's game. Now, in terms of starting quarterback, the Minnesota Vikings know what they have here in their quarterback. So, today, Smeagol will get the start, despite Steven Campagna playing pretty good this season, all things considered. So, Smeagol will get the start as we face the Lions here in week number 14. After this, we go to San Diego. I'm going to fact check. I don't think it's San Diego at all. I think it's LA at this point. Yeah, it's Los Angeles. Sorry. So we will be in Los Angeles next week. And then after that, the Packers will come here for Monday Night Football. And we will end at home against the Bears. Now, the best thing we can do here is 6-10 if we win out. We're kind of playing spoiler here for these teams. We have 3 games in the division here in the last 4. So we could spoil the Lions playoff hopes and dreams here today, or we could get a better stance in the draft. Now, in terms of the draft, it doesn't matter because we don't have a pick until the 7th round, which is kind of not a good thing. We traded away most of our picks as we go and look at the roster and we go look at draft picks. Okay, so we have a 4th round pick, a 5th, a 6th, and a 7th. Next year is 5, 6, and 7. So we traded away all of our first 3 rounds to boost this offensive line, and it proves not to be fruitful here for the Minnesota Vikings. But that's okay. We're going to get ahead and go ahead and get into this thing. Kickoff is right around the corner. I will see you in just a moment. And hello and welcome everybody. Production of EA Sports brings you Detroit Lions, Minnesota Vikings football here on the SSN. Moments ago, the Minnesota Vikings announced that they will be wearing their throwback jerseys here today at this home game. So we will see what those look like. Brandon Godden and Charles Davis are your TV commentators, but of course you were stuck with Randy Replay in the simulcast. And still, no Bobby Tuttle, no sideline analyst. And oh my heavens, we are throwing it back here this game, not evening. And the fans are really digging it. Just seconds ago, the Minnesota Vikings were introduced, and here is how those jerseys look. Of course, they're wearing their Nike variants, and here come the Detroit Lions live looking. Camera guy getting up close and personal. Now we cut back moments ago, and the fans are digging it. I mean, they are really digging it here. Smeagol, Blake Letelier, I do see Aaron Moss over there. NFC standings. Vikings 7-game losing streak. So, yeah, we take a look at the Packers. They are on a similar trend as they have lost 4. Smeagol getting another start. Danny Amendola back to return. Vikings have won the toss. They have deferred 11 returns for 280-plus yards. There's Josh Fitzer pointing to the sky. Luis Gonzalez on special teams as well. Brandon Baker's kicking away, and this game is underway. Of course, Amendola will take it at the end, and he will down it in the end zone. So here comes the man, the myth, the legend, Matthew Stafford. He is 267 for 421, 3,308 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Of course, he has been the staple here in Detroit Lions country. And here now, for the rest of the season, we're going to go on board with certain players a little bit more often. Season is gone. First play, Matthew Stafford looks It is right over Robert Nichols' head, who leads the team in interceptions with 5, and that was a good catch by Mr. Thomas. Game of 16 yards and just over Robert Nichols' head. So we'll be doing this more often as we go on with players now. Stafford coming on the I formation. Lions, it is the handoff. And that will be a modest gain of 3. Kerryon Johnson on the play call. Justin Lewis, Rashid Spinks coming up, showing blitz. They will back away. Complete pass again to the tight end. This time Rashid Spinks, the tackling leader on the season for the Minnesota Vikings. Jesse James on the catch. In a 45. Now we're going to go on with Kenny Erickson. Of course, the strong safety for the Minnesota Vikings. Stafford coming out in the split shotgun. Stafford's looking. He throws towards the end zone. It is picked off by Brown. We just signed him. He goes out of the end zone. I don't know why, but it's picked off by Brown. Brown has his first interception in a Vikings uniform. Oh my goodness. And Matthew Stafford has just thrown his 11th pick on the season. Imagine turning around and just seeing that ball come towards you. Of course, Amendola was the target. Now, he's new to the NFL. There's Drew Ward coming off the field, not mentioned yet, but what a beautiful sight to see. And so no introduction for Smeagol here, as we now are backed up in the shadow of our own goalpost. So imagine just being signed by an NFL team and you get an interception in your first action, your first play. Oh my goodness. Notable inactive, Zachary Anderson, Sam Gable, Daniel Hendricks out for season. He has not played a down in the NFL. Got injured on his first play. So Smeagol out of the shotgun, Justin Vanderschaft flanking him to the right. Smeagol looks, throws across the middle. That's Darion Wilson. He lost the dreads, but he's still a threat. Big gain to the 32. And that will trigger the Monsoon Air Baru. Brought to you, of course, by Monsoon Air. So Smeagol looking good out there across the middle to Darion Wilson. He lost the dreads, but he's still a threat. Good catch, Vikings fans joining in the celebration. So maybe these jerseys are the way to go for the Minnesota Vikings, as Aaron Moss behind Smeagol. He leads the team in carries. To end around to Blake Letelier. Blake Letelier will scamper ahead for 8 yards. They're going to give him 6. My apologies. So Darius Slay on the tackle. So now Smeagol in the far formation. That will be, looks like Terrence Frelix behind him. It's hard to see from where I'm sitting. The give is to Terrence Frelix. He gets good blocking. Matthew Peterson throws in. He tiptoes around the sidelines for 11 yards. And the Minnesota Vikings moving the ball now. Terrence Frelix getting involved. Here's Matt Patricia. He's saying, what are you guys doing? What a block thrown by Matthew Peterson. He was ready to get up into the next level, but that's how it goes here in the NFL. Sometimes it doesn't work. So Smeagol-Eriksberg now. It's got Aaron Moss behind him. Matthew Peterson is your man in motion, number 40. They're in the far formation. He's going to be tackled right away for a no gain. He's going to actually lose one. Joe Bitonio in on the block there. But Daniel's able to get back there. Now Smeagol under center. Travis Porker behind him. Smeagol flushed out of the pocket. He throws. Oh, just overthrew Luis Gonzalez cutting across the field. That'll now bring up 3rd and 11. So this Minnesota Vikings offense kind of stalling there towards the end of this drive. Smeagol out of the shotgun. Travis Parker to his left. He throws batted away right in his face. There's Daniels again breaking up the play. That will result in a 4th down play. Smeagol hanging his head. He seemed to have a wide receiver open. Hard to tell now. The whole Minnesota Vikings demeanor has changed. You see leading tackler and defensive captain Rashid Spinks kind of sad he's got to go back out there so quick. Taylor Pauline will punt this thing away. Usually good at the coffin corner. This time floats into the end zone. A very rare touchback from Taylor Pauline. Look out there, your wide receiver, far right. It's a play action. Smeagol gets his feet set, throws. Josh Gable across the left side, tackled out of bounds, no flags. It was a big gainer. 26 yards as I take a sip of the coffee provided to me by the Minnesota Vikings. Quick throw to the left side. That's Cole Smith, everybody. Cole Smith being brought down by a host of defenders, but a 1st down throw. And there's the 1st down call. He shot it right at Darius Slay. So a quick throw. Minnesota Vikings now in the red zone. Smeagol I formation. Justin Vandershoff behind Matthew Peterson. Waiting for blocks. Man, touchdown Vikings. Justin Vandershoff from 11 yards out. Throws the ball into the stands. So Josh Dean Vandershoff with the first touchdown of the day, his first touchdown, and now the defense will celebrate. There's Jeremy Lindsay, defensive captain and tackles leader Rashid Spinks over there celebrating. So Brandon Baker on for the extra point. Steven Campagna holds, the kick is away, it is good, and the crowd erupts. Minnesota Vikings 9 plays, 80 yards, 3:05 off the clock. Brown comes across the formation. It's a sack. He got sacked by Ryan Buelow. Strike. Ryan Buelow shot the gap and was in there before Matthew Stafford even turned around. Oh my God. We ready for y'all plays. And the Minnesota Vikings have forced another 3rd down. The Lions are not playing like a 7-5 team here. I'm sure that will change as we now go on board with Josh Dean Lewis. Low snap, corralled. It's a run play, and they just kind of gave it up on the broken play. It was a low snap. Kerryon Johnson took the ball on a impromptu. There's Jeremy Lindsay on the tackle. The 3rd and 5 play, you got to come up with something here that'll get you this amount of yardage. I do believe the Minnesota Vikings have that play in the playbook. And it's a wide open Josh Gable yet again. So Josh Gable, we have to tinker with the volume here. This stadium is rocking. It's very loud here. Now bringing up 3rd and 1 now. Vikings will show blitz. Rashid Spinks timing the blitz correctly, but it's a completion. He fumbled the ball. Get it, yes! Tevin Fair caused the fumble and got it. What a beautiful strip and a pickup. And that marks the first time the Minnesota Vikings this season have forced a fumble and got it back by the same player, I should say. I should stress that point. So here we go, 3rd and 3, Minnesota Vikings. Thinks he has a man. It's Travis Lee back. Said he was out of bounds. I do believe he was in. Let's see if we get a replay, and we will. Ooh, hard to tell. Looked like he was in. And Mike Zimmer throws the challenge flag. Why not? Why not? That looked like he was in.
The previous play is under review.
It's hard to tell by these angles. They're not really getting a good one, but the both feet were down. Travis Lee looks on as the referees have made their decision.
After review of the play, the ruling on the field stands.
You know us here at the SSN, we're going to go take another look. So Smeagol makes the throw. Back end zone. Travis Lee. 1. There's 1. And there is 2. The Minnesota Vikings were just robbed of a touchdown. There's the catch. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. 1, 2. The Minnesota Vikings were robbed from a touchdown. 1 and 2. The refs should have got that one. But alas, 1 and 2. The Minnesota Vikings have to settle for a field goal attempt here. After taking the penalty off the bug, Randy replay, shocked and perplexed. Brandon Baker, spot down kick away. It is good. So Brandon Baker strikes again after the fumble and the shoddy calling here by the refs. The Minnesota Vikings find themselves 13-0. Or 13-0. I wish we were 13-0 coming into this game, but that's not the case, as Amendola will down it in the end zone for a touchback. We'll go for the field goal attempt here. A long field goal attempt for Matt Prater. Almost a 60-yarder. That thing is no good. Goes wide left. So officially a 55-yard missed field goal for Matt Prater. Smeagol out of the shotgun. Aaron Moss to his right. There's the handoff to Moss. Moss will stumble up ahead for 13 yards, giving him 46 on the day. 6 carries. Not a whole lot of plays in the playbook designed to get you this amount of yardage. Maybe you just throw it up and hope somebody makes a play. Make it a little bit easier for Brandon Baker here. That seems what they're going to do. As they go to throw. Smeagol. Throw to Cole Smith. He gets the first down. Cole Smith. Four catches, 67 yards for Cole Smith. And the will and determination to get that stiff arm on the defender pays off greatly. Aaron Moss behind Smeagol in the I formation now. Matthew Peterson behind Smeagol as well. Aaron Moss will gain the edge. He'll get the first. Really, really close. And hard to tell from up here. They're going to mark him short of the line to gain. So now you've seen a shift. You've seen a shift. Smeagol under center. Gets the snap. Quick throw as he hits Cole Smith. Or no, that is Cameron Quick. My apologies. So used to calling Cole Smith's name here in the game. That'll be the 2-minute warning here for the first half. Minnesota Vikings lead 13-0. They're going to play press coverage to the outside. Matthew Stafford will get the snap. And it is a screen. Off to the right side. Good game. They're going to go no huddle. Kerryon Johnson on the screen. And it's picked off Brown. Jumps for joy at a second interception. And Brown takes it to the house. Troy Brown. And it's completely understandable. I called him Troy Brown. It's Tony Brown. Tony Brown now has 2 interceptions on the day of Matthew Stafford. And it's completely understandable to jump at that. It's your first game of the season. The Minnesota Vikings took a chance on you, and you come in and you show up. And you now have 2 interceptions on Matthew Stafford. 1 for 6. End of the first half. Matt Patricia's Lions are down by the to the tune of 27-0. And as we do every single week, we take a look at other teams around the NFL. In Green Bay, our neighbors to the east. Aaron Rodgers leading the pack, 14-0. 122 yards and a touchdown. Stephon Diggs, 3 catches, 64 yards. Aaron Jones has a touchdown as well. As we travel further east, the Jets and the Dolphins deadlocked in the half, 14-3. Not really deadlocked. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 2 touchdowns and a pick in that one. And Chicago coming back to the Midwest, 21-7 was the final. Dak Prescott, 253 and a touchdown. Mitchell Trubisky, 167 yards. So now the Bears fall to 7-6. And hello and welcome back to your halftime break. This is Randy Replay, going to break down everything first half Minnesota Vikings football. Then we'll get you out for the second half of action. Minnesota Vikings will receive the kick here moments from now. But Smeagol Axberg playing with an almost perfect QB rating, 133.8. He is 15 for 18. That is 83% completion percentage. For those of you that didn't know how to do math or simply didn't look over here. 210 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. This is the big thing here because in every single game the Minnesota Vikings have played, there has been at least 1 interception. But not so far today, not to jinx it, hopefully. Aaron Moss, 9 carries, 62 yards. Justin Vanderschaft, 4 for 16 and 1 touchdown. Terrence Felix, 3 for 9. Receiving, Cole Smith leads the team, 5 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown to his name. Josh Gable, honorable mention here for the leaders, 4 for 53. Nobody cares about blocking. We're going to defense, look at total tackles, and it's Robert Nichols with 4 and Rashid Spinks with 3. There's been 1 sack by Ryan Buelow here. And 2 interceptions by Tony Brown in the first half. We just signed him this week after Zachary Anderson went down with that season-ending injury, my apologies. And he has a pick 6, as well as a pick in the end zone that leads here to this Minnesota Vikings blowout. So the Minnesota Vikings are really close to triggering the Monsoon Air Mercy rule, and we're on the good side of that. Vikings lead 27-0, kickoff minutes away. We only need 3 points to do it. Let's see if we can. This has been Randy Replay. I will see you at the end of this one. No, I'm kidding. I will see you in just a moment. It's nice to see this spurge of the Minnesota Vikings late in the season, and here's Justin Vanderschaft. He's going to wind around. He's going to get up to the 27-yard line. The Minnesota Vikings going no huddle now. Smeagol gets the snap. Looks to the middle. He throws. Justin Vanderschaft on the catch. Big play, Justin. And this is aggressive play calling here by the Minnesota Vikings. Smeagol flushed out of the pocket, maybe by his own attrition. Block thrown, Smeagol. The biggest rush play from line of scrimmage, 25. Oh no, he has 25 carries. And that was a big run for the big dude. Big block thrown there by the receiver. He's going to tiptoe. Maybe I was incorrect at that being the longest play from line of scrimmage in terms of rushing, but hey, it's all good. Smeagol under center. Not Paul Fritchie, that is. He throws end zone. Josh Gable, touchdown! Oh, by heavens. Matt Patricia looks very perplexed. And with that kick, the Monsoon Air Mercy rule is put into effect. Brandon Baker kicks us to the Monsoon Air Mercy rule. So the Minnesota Vikings will sim the rest of the game here. And the Minnesota Vikings now leading 37-7. 37-14, and that will be your final. The game is over. The Monsonaire Mercy Rule was triggered. Matt Patricia looks disgusted. They did score later on in the game. There's Vandershoff's touchdown. There is the interception by Tony Brown in the end zone. Cole Smith had a big day. Tevin Fair had a strip and a fumble. And there is one of the catches by Josh Gable. The Minnesota Vikings come out and completely dominate the Detroit Lions. They only had 10 more passing yards than us, but we get the 3 takeaways, 2 interceptions, and of course the fumble. Garrett Bradbury looks on, and the Minnesota Vikings snap the 7-game losing streak, winning here at US Bank Stadium 37-14. Smeagol, 296 yards on the day. We'll take a look at these stats. For your Minnesota Vikings, Smeagol, the quarterback, 139.7 QB rating. He was 21 for 26. That is 80% completion percentage for those of you that didn't know how to do math or simply didn't look over here. 296 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the big glaring no interceptions. This is the first time this season that the Minnesota Vikings have gone a game without an interception thrown. Let that sink in. Week 14, and we're finally turning on the Jets. For your Minnesota Vikings running attack, Aaron Moss, the season leader for the Minnesota Vikings in carries, gets 13 here, a heavy load put on him, and he does wonders with it. 77 yards on the day, averaging 5.9 per carry. That is the leader with running backs over 5 yards carried, as you see the glaring 12.5 by Smeagol. He had a big run there on the last drive before the Monsonaire Mercy Rule was put into effect. Justin Vandershoff, 8 carries, 39 yards. He had that touchdown in the first quarter. Travis Parker got in the mix, 6 for 26. Terrence Felix, 5 for 10. Blake Letellier, 3 for 9. Smeagol, 2 for 25. In the receiving game, it is Cole Smith, 5 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Josh Gable, 5 for 71 in the touchdown that put us into the Mercy Rule. Amazing. Cameron Quick, 4 for 39. Luke Slazewski, the team leader in catches, only had 2 for 12 yards. Now, the Darius Slay-led Detroit Lions defense really put an emphasis on guarding him today. Darian Wilson, Mr. Lost the Dreads, but he's still a threat. 1 catch for 25 yards. Lou Wang, 1 for 14. Jesse Peterson, 1 for 25. He got in the mix later on. And Justin Vandershoff, 1 for 20. The big one right before the Mercy Rule. And, of course, Aaron Moss, 1 for 8. Nobody cares about blocking. We're going to go to defense and look at total tackles. And it is Rashid Spinks, team leader. I do believe that puts him really close to 100 tackles on the season. We're going to check that. If it doesn't, we will keep up with that as the season draws on. Justin Lewis had 7. Robert Nichols was 6. Jeremy Lindsey, Tony Brown, 3 tackles, 2 interceptions in his first action as a Minnesota Viking. Thomas Cross got in the mix with 3. Hey, look, Thaddeus Rozu, Jalen Myrick also had 3. Arnsdorf, Fair, Rethwell, Nelson, Erickson, Fritchie, and Fitz are each with 2. Matthew Peterson, Kevin Stark, Terrell Oliver, Drew Ward, Points, Rolamalu, David Arnold, Ryan Belo, each with 1. Sacks, we had a couple. Scott Rethwell, Jeremy Lindsey, Ryan Bulow, each with 1, and then Terrell Oliver and Rashid Spinks split 1. Minnesota Vikings picked off Matthew Stafford 2 times, both being Tony Brown. He also scored a pass deflection in the stat sheet. Not to mention he scored on one of those. And we had a forced fumble by Tevin Fair, recovered by Tevin Fair for 1 yard. No field goal blocks, no safeties, and 1 defensive touchdown for your Minnesota Vikings here today. In the kicking game, Brandon Baker was 3 for 3, longest of 57, putting him at 100% of the day. On the day, rather. And, of course, 4 for 4 on extra points. Punting, Taylor Pauline only had to punt 3 times for 140 yards, netting 115. He had 1 touchback, very rare for the sure-footed punter. In the kick return game, Jalen Myrick had 1 for 29. Justin Vandershoff, 1 for 26. Seems to be pretty even there. So once again, your Minnesota Vikings come in 2-10 against a 7-5 Detroit Lions team. And they take care of business, 37-14, the first time the mercy rule has been implemented for the Minnesota Vikings, not against. Smeagol shows that he can and wants to be the starter of this team. He commanded a 296-yard performance with an 80% completion percentage, numbers we have not seen so far this year in terms of completion percentage. Also had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So that is something to ponder as we go into the last 3 games of the season after this one. So we'll take a look at Rashid Spink's tackle numbers. I do believe that is enough to put him at or really close to 100 once we get back to the main screen. This has been Randy Replay. I will see you in just a moment. And hello and welcome back to the main screen. The Minnesota Vikings have a big injury decision as doctors have cleared Sam Gable to return to play. But the smart thing is to let Aaron Moss do his thing. So we're going to start the backup Aaron Moss. So now the 3-10 Minnesota Vikings, before the onslaught of divisional games happen to end the season, now have to go up against the 9-4 Chargers in Los Angeles. I said San Diego in the beginning of the game, or the broadcast here, but it is indeed Los Angeles. So we will now look at stats for the Minnesota Vikings. This is always something I like to see. Is good defenders. Okay, so Rashid Spinks is not yet at 100. He is at 96. So he has 4 games to get 4 tackles. I do believe that will not be a problem. As we take a look at his stats per game, he is averaging at least 5 a game the whole season. So this should happen. It doesn't really say what game this was here, but he got 10 tackles, 2 for a loss in 1 game. Oh, by heavens. Of course, last game he got 9 tackles. I do believe. And, yeah. So here we go. Justin Lewis with 84. Of course, Jalen Myrick next up after him. So what a game for Tony Brown. 2 interceptions of Matt Stafford in his first week. That has to make Mike Zimmer happy. As you can see, he's still pacing around, probably talking to Rick Spielman about draft strategy. Of course, Rick Spielman will answer to our owner, Ron Barr. You can see at the top right. $383 million in available funds, so we can really make any move we wish. So this offseason should be good to watch here unfold. So once again, your Minnesota Vikings win at home, snap a 7-game losing streak to go 37 to the tune of 37-14. We are now 3-10, right on pace with the Green Bay Packers. Of course, they lost their game, but due to us beating them, I believe we beat them earlier in the season. Yeah, due to us beating them earlier in the season, we take 3rd instead of bottom of the barrel of the NFC North. So this has been Randy Replay. Monsoon Air Mercy Rule goes into effect. Tony Brown has a big game. And your Minnesota Vikings climb to 3-10 on the season. This has been Randy Replay. I will see you in the next one.